Thank you, councillors. Because both the chair and the vice chair unfortunately are unable to attend this meeting, there is a requirement for the meeting to elect a chair for the duration of today. Therefore, can I see nominations? Councillor Smithers.
Thank you, Mr. Goltz, and we find ourselves in, as you say, an unfortunate position, and I would like to put forward a nomination of Councillor Russell Roberts to be the temporary chair of this meeting. Thank you.
Can I see Councillor David Brackenbury?
Thank you, Mr. Galt, and I'm very happy to second this proposal.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts, just to confirm you're happy to have your name put forward? Are there any other nominations from the floor? Thank you. Can I see all those in favour of the nomination of Councillor Roberts? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, Councillor Roberts.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that vote. I would now like to formally open the meeting, and we start with, are there any apologies for absence? David.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations upon your temporary elevation. And it's nice to see you, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. For the Conservative group, I fear we've been slightly ravaged by outbreaks of COVID this week. So I'm afraid, quite a number of apologies. Councillor Helen Harrison, Councillor Bunday, Smythe, Councillor Stephen North, Councillor Sims, Henson, O'Hara, Level, Jackson, Andy and Jill Mercer, Allabone, Bell, Kirk Harrison, Barbara and David Jenny, Sedwin Brown, Councillor Powell and Councillor Nicol. That is for the Conservative group. Thank you.
And for the Labour?
Thank you. For the Labour group, we have apologies from Matt Keane, Valerie Anslow and Alison DeYell, all work related, and Jean Addison may be late. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Emily Fedorowicz, did I get that right?
Thank you, Chair. Fedorowicz, it's, yeah, no apologies from the Green Alliance. Thank you.
Paul, are there any other apologies recorded?
None that I have, Chair.
Councillor Roberts. Sorry, just to say Councillor Partridge Underwood is delayed. He's just dealing with a dental emergency.
Right. Okay, well, we'll move on to minutes of the previous meeting. The next item is the minutes, and the meeting was held on the 25th of July 2022. Are there any issues in relation to the accuracy of the minutes? I would like to move the minutes of the 25th of July then. Please may I see a seconder? The leader. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions? One abstention. That's carried. Are there any declarations of interest that councillors wish to make relating to the items that we're discussing today? None? If it carries on like this, we're doing all right. I've got chair's announcements. This Saturday will see the start of the Black History Month, and North Northamptonshire Council will proudly fly the Pan-African flag at its civic buildings to celebrate the impact of the black heritage and culture on Northamptonshire and the world as a whole. As part of the month-long celebrations, we will share useful links to organisations in the county on our website and social media channels, as well as highlighting local events and information. One event to mention is a special display at Wellingborough Library to honour Mike Prescott, MBE, the town's first black mayor. Well done to Mike. No announcements from the leader? No, Chairman, no announcements. Right. Wonder how I knew that. Agenda item 6. There are no public statements, public questions or petitions on this occasion. So we'll go straight through to agenda item 7, councillor questions. Now I believe everybody's been given a copy of the question and a copy of the answer. So I would like to go straight through to the supplementary questions to try and get some movement on this. So starting with question 1, Councillor Fedorovitz, have you got a supplementary question?
For the first question, I think, well, first of all, thank you to Lloyd, although he's not here, but I will pass that on to him. Thank you for the answer. That's very helpful. My main sort of bit was about, I wanted to query if we could do more in terms of, we've got this sort of, we also source more goods and services and works locally when best value can be demonstrated. I think what I'm looking for really is are we expanding the knowledge and our database of local businesses, small businesses? Just if we are expanding that, can I find out?
Well, I'm sure that
pass that on to him.
Would Councillor Smithers like to answer that now or send a note on that?
Chair, quite happy to answer that. Sorry, stand there, forget. Yeah, quite happy to look at local supply chains. Local supply chains are good on a few reasons, really, because one, they're less harsh on the environment if we're moving stuff across our county rather than bringing it in from other parts of the country or even other parts of the world. Also, a local procurement or a mini procurement package that I believe our 151 officer has been tasked to look at, which is selling what we can do as an authority to allow smaller organisations to tender for our business, and that's good on a few reasons, because if we can get local businesses tendering for our business, that's local money coming back into the council, local money from the council going back into businesses, which is only good for our local economy as well. So I hope that sort of reassures you, Councillor Fedorovitz.
Thank you for that. Coming to question 2, Councillor Fedorovitz, have you got a supplementary question on that?
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, thank you also for the answer, Smithers. That's very helpful. Let me just have a quick look here, bear with me. Oh, the main thing here was just about, I wanted to ask when this would be coming forward to members. Obviously, I know that there is work going on behind the scenes, but I think just having some transparency on that for the wider group of members would be really good. Thank you.
Going on to question 3, Councillor... Oh, do beg your pardon.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Fedorovitz, for that question. It is in the final stages. Office have been working extremely hard to pull together the data. Now, obviously, that is a complex set of data, so it has taken some time to get it to where we need to be. But it will be coming forward very, very soon, I can assure you of that.
Thank you very much. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'll do.
Good.
It's fine.
Well, we'll come to question 3 then. Have you got a supplementary for question 3?
This one, sorry. Oh, when? Yes, in terms of those sort of warm spaces, it would be good to know sort of when there's going to be a meeting to coordinate those efforts, because that's happening also in the local community as well.
Councillor Pindley?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Of course, I'm answering on behalf of Councillor Helen Harrison. As the original question answer stated, further details of these programmes will be shared with councillors as soon as the programmes have developed. So I'm sure the councillor will be updated, and all councillors will be updated in due course as those plans develop. But at this point in time, I don't have any timeframes agreed.
Okay. Right, we now come on to question 4. Councillor Best, have you any supplementary?
Yes, please, Chair. And thank you to Councillor Brackenbury for his answer. In the response, you state that Historic England is currently updating the guidance for replacement windows on historic buildings. Do we know when that guidance, revised guidance, is due to be released, published, and in effect?
David?
Thank you, Councillor Best, for the question, which I welcome. No, I don't have an exact date for when oh dear me, wrong piece of paper, from when Historic England are going to be updating their guidance. Obviously, with listed buildings, it is sometimes very difficult because you do have to take things much on a case-by-case basis because listed buildings are themselves so diverse. We are, as a stakeholder who communicates with and has dialogue with Historic England, as many planning authorities do, and we will continue to have that dialogue with Historic England with a view to making sure that the guidance allows as much flexibility as is possible while maintaining the character and historic appeal of listed buildings. I hope that's a satisfactory answer.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. We now move on to question 5. Councillor Lee, have you a supplementary?
Yes, Chair. Wasn't it the intention when councillors were issued with laptops and iPads that we would become a paperless council? And would additional IT training help to make councillors make do with the IT equipment without a paper copy? Thank you.
Smithers?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And Councillor Lee, I completely agree with you. We do need to work towards becoming a paperless council. However, if you look around the room, there's individuals in here that may not feel so comfortable with IT like we do, and I don't think we should force it upon them to be trained if they don't wish to be trained. If they are happy to have paper copies, and I think we should facilitate that, but would wholly encourage some training to see if we can make people who want to change the habit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, question 6, Councillor Lee. Have you a supplementary?
What can you tell then to the families, what will happen to the families who, the Ukrainian families who are coming to the end of their 6-month terms and who are really worried because they've got nowhere else to go? What will happen to those families?
Councillor Smithers. Oh, Councillor Binley's going to answer this.
Yes, again, excuse me, Councillor Lee, of course I'm answering this on behalf of Councillor Harrison. However, I am aware that the resettlement team are in constant communication with our Ukrainian families that they are supporting. I am also aware that a number of people that sponsored Ukrainian families were actually notified in written correspondence when agreeing to take on the resettlement of these families, that they were notified that the period would be between 6 to 18 months. So a number of the resettlement families were made aware that that period may be longer. But as I say, they are in constant communication with those families to provide reassurance. And of course, also, where we have had the occasions where that relationship has broken down, the team have worked hard to find another sponsor family for those the Ukrainians to be resettled into.
Thank you for that. Question 7, Councillor Lee. Have you a
Thank you, Chair. The occasional updates this full council receives or papers do not amount to a comprehensive strategic overview that I mentioned in my question. So I wonder, can this council please have 6 monthly comprehensive updates of how far we are of the work programme in terms of climate change, to give us an idea of how much more work we still have to do? Thank you.
Councillor Penn.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not really sure how much more I can add to the answer I've given, because I think it sets out quite clearly that we've got the carbon management plan coming forward. We've already got our climate change route map, which has been discussed extensively at the EAP and as well as at full council. We've got more key performance indicators coming forward. There are already ones in there that are setting out what we're doing. So I think we are being very transparent with it. As it says in the initial response, more than happy to work with Scrutiny with their plan for work to look at all of this in the fullness of time. But it really is being looked at in all the different ways that we can.
Thank you very much. Moving on to question 8. Armour, have you a... Councillor Armour?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And thank you to Councillor Brackenbury for this answer. I do find it useful. Was there any feedback given to the leisure centre as to why its bid wasn't, as it says here, at a degree of readiness at the submission stage?
Thank you, Councillor Armour, for your question. I believe that feedback has been provided for the unsuccessful people on the Levelling Up Fund bid, and I refer the colleague, I refer the councillor to the fact that it was important, indeed it was imperative, to make as strong a bid as we could for this particular round of the Levelling Up Fund and to meet the criteria set by government. What I want to make clear is that we do not think that the proposal to rebuild the Redwell Leisure Centre is in any way a bad proposal, and we do want to keep it very much on the council's radar so that we can make use of future funding rounds as they may become available. So we haven't forgotten about it, and we do value it very much as a project particularly in an area of Wellingborough that may be not as prosperous as other areas. So I think it's an important project to be kept very much in mind.
Right, question 9, Councillor Leanne Buckingham.
Thank you, Chair. Well done on your role. Yeah, I do have a supplementary question. I think it's interesting to hear that the Children's Trust first had their accounts announced within the 17-month period, and I know we do get extra time, but surely to keep projects within budgets we need to be aiming for just the 12 months. The longer we report, the longer there is where there's budget slipping. When can we expect the annual report? And there's a projected overspend. Do we know where we are with that at the moment? Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you for the question and the supplementary. So it's not unusual for a business because to move their accountancy date to fit in with other things, and that's all they've done on this, and that the question's answered on that respect. Regards to the overspend, this will be monitored through the council's budget monitoring process and the contract management. And regarding the report, I believe that comes to council in November. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Going on to question 10, Councillor Griffiths.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm encouraged by the example given and the response from Councillor Brackenbury. Thank you.
Question 11, Councillor Griffiths.
Thank you, Chairman. I was always hopeful that unitary would result in 2 well-run, sustainable councils that could work closely together and share some services in the best interests of the residents of the whole of Northamptonshire. With finances on both sides extremely challenging, I strongly believe that we are stronger together with several of the big ticket services with our friends in the West. So I'm encouraged by the leader's assurances that things are going well. Thank you, Chairman.
Answer to that, because it wasn't really a question, but thank you for your interjection. Question 12. Question. Supplementary question.
I've got a supplementary comment, Chairman, that
No,
the
a question,
person
please.
might wish to respond to. But,
Question. Have you got a question?
No question as such.
Right. Going to question 13, Simon Riley. Have I got that right?
Thank you, Chair. Before I just go into my supplementary question, I just want to thank Councillor Griffiths there for seeing sense and
Ask
using
the
some
question.
of some of the terminology from the Labour group of Stronger Together. So I welcome that statement there. I just want to say thank you to Councillor Lorman, because after I put the question in, he'd made a detailed article came out the following day in a press release. But I do have a question I'd like to ask him. We can see the council has a strategy to harmonise services across the whole of Northamptonshire. So can the leader and the portfolio holder reassure the council that the extra money will be allocated fairly across all 4 sovereign councils? Thank you.
I just wanted to just clear up one matter there with the 4 sovereign councils. We don't have 4 sovereign councils, Councillor Riley, just in case it slipped your mind. We have 1 sovereign authority, and that's Northamptonshire Council. And whatever we do in this authority, it is for the good of the whole of the area.
Councillor Lorman, have you got anything you'd like to add to that?
Thank you. Yes, the spending is going to be spread across every single parish and town area in, now we are all parish or town, in the whole authority, and it's been done from the street doctor reports and the reports of the community liaison officers right across the authority, and if there are any areas, then please keep submitting them. But yes, the spend will be very fairly spread.
Councillor Riley, question 14.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks for that response there, Councillor. Question 14. I feel like asking the question again because I don't feel like I've got the answer, but I'm not going to do that. But hopefully people will get the gist where we're at. So why is it that decisions by the executive go against the will of the people? And I'm talking about consultation. Now, in your answer, you mentioned about considerations of budget, you mentioned about considerations of technology, you mentioned about considerations legal, and you mentioned about considerations are made based on political. So how can the leader reassure the public that we are a listening council, 1 sovereign council, and that they have their say in shaping the future of Northants? Or is this just a tick exercise and a showcase consultation that has a clear political agenda?
Councillor Smithers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Riley, for your supplementary question. So we don't do just tick box exercises. I think that's what you were trying to refer to. However, what we do is we do consultations that are meaningful, that ask the questions that we need to understand from the members of our public. The executive then makes a decision. Sometimes those decisions may not be to everyone's taste. However, we have a broader view of where this council needs to be heading and how we need to secure the longevity of this authority under very challenging circumstances.
Question 15, Councillor Riley.
Shall I ask that one again? No, I'll move on to 15, actually. Okay.
Now.
Right, question 15. Thank you for the response. Quite an interesting response. So I've got a further question for it. Never going to be easy. Every resident in Northants should be treated consistently across Northants. So that was in the response. So here's my question. When will the leader keep to his party's manifesto pledge of harmonising free car parking charges across Northants? Some of the councils, or the old sovereign councils, Kettering and Corby, are paying, not like others that are getting it free. Is this the same old Tories, one rule for one and one rule for the other?
Mr. Chairman, sorry, that's not a question, that's a political statement.
Leader, if you just let me get in there, thank you. You've got the question, I'd give the answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Riley, you refer to our political manifesto, and rightfully so, because we are a party that lives by what we say. And quite frankly, in that manifesto, we said we would expand free car parking, and we intend to do that. So watch the space.
We now come to question 16. Mark Pengelly, Councillor Pengelly. Supplementary.
Yeah, can I ask a supplementary? Thank you for the response, Leader. 11.1 is a really, really important part of the document for us. And it does say that these gambling casinos should not be put in places near schools, nurseries, community centres, places where you offer gambler support. And I think each and every member of this council welcomes that and welcomes the new policy put forward by this council. I'm going to ask the Leader if he will support me, because our own property department are trying to put a casino in one of our own shops on Rockton Road in Corby, which is 100 metres from Pen Green Nursery, 100 metres from a Home Start Support Centre, 100 metres from Rockingham School, 100 metres from Size Court Shetwood scheme that we control, and 100 metres from Stevenson's Way Community Centre that offers gambling advice and support. So I'd hopefully the Leader would ask our property department not to allow one of these centres, one of these casinos in one of our own shops.
Let's ask the question of the Leader then.
Okay, thank you for your extra question there, Councillor Pengelly. It's something that I would like to have a look at, but I'm pretty sure that the process that's been put down protects vulnerable people from gambling, and gambling, if done correctly and people stay in control of gambling, can be a pastime hobby, which I know many people participate in. I get your concerns and happy to have a chat with you at a later date.
Question 17, Councillor Lynn Buckingham.
Thank you for the response, and no, I don't have a supplementary question for that, but thank you for the response given.
Question 18 then, Lynn, Councillor Lynn, have you got a supplementary there?
No, the HECA actually isn't due until March 2023, but I wondered about the review process in what we've achieved from the last report was more the question.
Councillor Binley, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure I could go through exactly everything that we've achieved without taking up an extortionate amount of time of the council here in this chamber right now. However, I'm more than happy to pick this up offline with Councillor Buckingham to go through those actions from our previously submitted report back in May last year, comparatively to where we are now. However, we do have the officers responsible for those certain areas currently working through the questions in preempting the next review, as Councillor Buckingham has rightly said. But as I say, more than happy to pick that up at another time with the member.
I think that would be very useful. Thank you. Councillor Hakewill, question 19, have you a supplementary?
You know me well enough, Chairman. Yes. My supplementary question comes... Sorry?
You didn't let me down.
In the years, would I? People are very interested in what's happening to Nuston Hall. My supplementary question, somewhat ironically, is the same question as I asked. When will future options for Nuston Hall be brought before scrutiny so that its future role in North Northamptonshire's heritage is widely considered and evaluated? It wasn't answered. When?
There is no way you can... You've already got an answer for that. There was no supplementary question, so I'm going to move on, Councillor Hakewill. Question 20, Councillor Hakewill. Have you a supplementary question for that.
Anyway, the next one, we don't really worry because questions not being answered is the norm. So, thank you for the answer there, Councillor Jason Smithers. Why was there no publicity or fancy press release or any other indication on the agenda that the executive would be live streamed?
So, Councillor Councillor Hakewell, sorry, thank you very much for your supplementary. I didn't think it would be prudent to have a press release about the executive being streamed for the first time or what have you. It's there, people can view it. We've had conversations today about the input from the members of the public viewing our EAPs and such. So we are aware that, members of the public do like to view these things, and it will organically get out there via our sort of Twitter feeds and Facebook feeds. And look, Councillor Hakewell, some of these questions that you've put forward to myself and my colleagues here today could quite easily have been dealt with by a simple email to the relevant member to save the important time of this council. Thank you.
We now come to question 21. Councillor Hakewell, have you got a supplementary?
Yeah, I'm not doing it by email. I have the right to ask these questions. It may embarrass the executive, but I still have the right.
Let's get on with the business at hand.
So, why was the GTAA inferred to be a policy supporting the bid for a temporary stopping site at Junction 3 of the A14?
I thank Councillor Hakewell for his question, and I'm not at all embarrassed to respond to him. The GTAA is in fact a background document. It is part of the evidence base which will form part of the development of the next site-specific local plan, and indeed will also feed into the Northamptonshire strategic plan. The actual policy document that you refer to is the Gypsy and Traveller Site Allocations Policy, which is the policy document I think that you're trying to refer to on this. And in terms of developing a Gypsy and Traveller stopping site, I believe, Councillor, that you're already aware that there is no application yet being made for such a site. It is not part of the planning process. And obviously, if an application were to be brought forward, it would be considered on its own merits in the proper way that all such applications are considered. Thank you.
Thank you. We now come to question 22. Councillor Zoe McGee.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your answer, Councillor Bingley. Of course, I did come into this chamber thinking that perhaps the work may have started in Wellingborough because of the majority party's position in Wellingborough. However, of course, I don't think that anymore. What I would like to know as my supplementary question is, do you have a time frame for this work? When will it start, and when will we see the improvements?
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor McGee. And, of course, I'm incredibly pleased to see, of course, your keen interest still in this area, and I'm sure that will continue. I would just like to add a point of clarification, of course, with regards to Queensway, and you're talking about the political balance. We have the same position in Kettering. So I can assure you that who the elected members are for those areas does not affect our way forward with addressing the left-behind areas. NNC will show absolutely no bias whatsoever. With regards to timeframes, etc., I think just a point of clarification with regards to the work already undergoing in Wellingborough Queensway Ward. It's slightly different in that it was commissioned before the Left Behind Areas report came from the government. It's actually to do with levelling up, because you will note that that work is actually also being undertaken in other areas in Wellingborough. I'm more than happy that be picked up with Hazel Webb, who's leading the project. At this point in time, I do not have a time frame from the officer in question as to whether they will be looking at other areas, if they will be, with regards to that work that was specifically referenced in that question, because, as I say, it's slightly different from the actual left behind areas report commissioned by the government.
Thank you for that. That concludes that item. We're now on to agenda item 8, executive presentations, and there are no executive presentations. We are now, where are we now? Right, sorry about that. I'm new to this game. I do apologise, but anyway, here we go. Councillor, item 9, Councillor Learning and Development Policy. And I believe that I've got Councillor Lee Wilkes moving this.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to do that. So I was delighted to be able to contribute to the Council's last cross-party member development group with Councillors Addison and Best. It was a really positive meeting, the first one I'd attended. There is, as we will all appreciate, a wide range of expertise amongst councillors. And it is important, of course, that this council can make itself aware of those skills. And then we can support councillors to develop them. As a lot of you will know, this is a subject really very close to my own heart. So I was really proud when the council signed up to the East Midlands Region Councillor Development Charter. So the Member Development Group is just another step in the journey of ensuring that the council and the councillors are as effective and well supported as we can make it. Councillors are, as are officers of course, councillors are very busy people. And it's important that the council adapts to suit councillors' workload, and we provide the right type of training at the time when it's required. So, Chair, I'm therefore really very happy to propose this report for approval.
Would there be a councillor who would second this item?
I second.
Yeah,
I'll second the motion. I'll second the item. Yeah, thank you.
Has anybody wishing to get involved in? Councillor Lee.
Yes, thank you, Chair. In reply to one of my questions, Councillor Smith has said that we cannot force councillors to follow IT training if they don't want to. Can I just state that several councillors, quite a few, at least a dozen, have been asking for IT training, but apart from one workshop in Wellingborough with 5 attendees, it's been on a piecemeal basis, just we asked a question and it got answered. There's no systematic, harmonized instruction book, explanation about, for example, also supplementary reports are all named the same. So I found myself at an Audit and Governance Committee with 4 different supplementary files that I had to open up. There is just not enough IT training has been offered, and it really would help. For example, how to use a stylus so that you can annotate documents. It's badly needed, so it just hasn't been provided, and we needed that in the first year, not that we just start to think about it now. Thank you.
Councillor Griffiths.
Thank you, Chairman, and I welcome closer working with East Midlands Council. They were excellent to me when I was leader of the Borough Council of Wellingborough. And the reason I asked that question earlier on about the LGA Leadership Academy was because, quite honestly, it's the best training course I've ever attended in my career, both political and non-political. Since 2007, when I passed through the academy, I've used so many of the tools that I've learned, and I really think the executive members and some chairmen would benefit greatly from the academy programme. You learn to work with other senior councillors from political groups and many, I think, in this room would greatly benefit from that. So I did get my few words in the end, Chairman, and thank you for your allowing me to do so.
Councillor Maxwell.
I would like to say that basically people should have an opportunity, if they want to go and do it further training, it should not be forced on them. And if they want paper copies for reasons other than the fact that they like writing all over them, then that should be the case as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hakewell.
Thank you, Chairman. I concur with Councillor Griffiths on that. I did the Leadership Academy, and it is an excellent course. It surprises me that it's not been taken up so much. Certainly as leader at Kettering, it was enormous benefit and of enormous background. The other point I would make, and it's been made before, is when we do training on things like planning, where we very heavily rely on our town and parish councils to be able to help us, to comment and come back, there's absolutely no reason I would see in this policy that we shouldn't invite town and parish councils to come and learn and train with us so that we're all looking at the same thing. I don't think that exists in here. There may be other times, for example, licensing and so on, and to have the problem that there were too many people is a problem I've never experienced over the years, but if there were, then we have more than one session. So I don't know exactly how that would work. Do you want me to move that something should be put in that we should have joint learning and see if that gains traction, or how will we, Chairman, make sure that we embrace our town and parish councillors in a figurative way to come and train with us? I mean,
well, I'm sure your idea, which is a good one, has been heard and will be acted upon.
Okay, you don't need it to be moved to put into the policy that we're approving.
No. Councillor Lynn Buckingham.
Right.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, well done. I welcome this report. I welcome the initiative. And I think that knowledge will give an extra dimension to the work of the council. So, thank you.
Thank you for that. I've got Councillor Buckingham.
She just spoke, so Councillor Carr.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Carr.
I'm over here, Councillor Roberts. Just to follow on from Councillor Hakewell, two of the ward members in my ward, Councillor Griffiths and Councillor Tom Parcher-Underwood, we have formed our own sort of mini parish forums with our wards. And one of the items which was asked for back in January, with the parish councils within our ward, I should say, when we met with them back in January, one of the things they did ask for was about some training in regards to planning. And I was in touch with the director, Rob Harbour, who has confirmed that some training will take place. And I'm still waiting to hear, I hasten to add. So whichever executive member obviously liaises with Rob Harbour, please could you follow it up for me, please, Councillor Brackenbury.
Right, we've now got Councillor Brackenbury wishing to speak. So,
well, Chairman, your timing was, as always, absolutely immaculate, and I'm pleased to hear the point made by Councillor J.P. Carr. I will follow that up, absolutely. On the broader sense, yes, I mean, I think training and development of councillors is something, it's a bit of a no-brainer, and I don't think there's a soul in this room who would disagree. That training does have to be tailored for the individual role and the individual skill level and requirements of the individual councillor. So it's a complex situation, and trying to do a matrix of training requirements for 78 very diverse councillors will always be a tricky business. But I take the point about training with a wider audience, either with colleagues in other East Midlands councils or other regional councils, or other stakeholder groups who may not be councillors at all, who, you know, and working with them could be valuable. And I also do take the point that was raised that where appropriate, and it isn't always appropriate, there's a lot of internal training we do, but where appropriate, I mean, certainly there is training opportunities for working with town and parish councils and councillors as well. And I do take Councillor Carr's point that town and parish councillors would benefit well from planning training as much as every member here who sits on a planning committee or even as a ward member who doesn't sit on the planning committee. It's still something that comes across all our in-trays quite a lot. So I do welcome that. As far as engagement's concerned, we have had the Planning Advisory Service in this week who have been conducting a pretty much root and branch review of Northamptonshire Council's planning offering, and I am pleased to say that part of the meetings that they've had involved an engagement with a number of town and parish councillors, so they are informed across the board. So I do welcome the points that have been made. Thank you.
Good. Excellent. I've got now Zoe McGee would like to speak.
Thank you. Before I start, I'd just like to say I am doing that leadership course, so if it's as good as they say it is, look out for me after I've done that. I may have missed in this report, but I can't see anything in here about member well-being. As an elected member, we can feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders, particularly when we hear harrowing stories like the ones that I've shared with you in this chamber previously. So I'd just like to know what we can take from this report to value and to teach members and officers about their well-being and show that we're a council that really care about our employees' well-being.
Would you like to?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And thank you to all the members for their questions. This is all about well-being, really. If we get to the heart of what we're trying to do here, we are trying to support councillors. It is a stressful position to be in. And of course, if you look at the report, some of the courses that we are considering include stress awareness. And, you know, managing our own time and feeling supported, really. It's really early days. Yes, we've joined the Charter. That's fabulous. We've got an initial report coming out. Part of this process is going to be to gather the information on how councillors feel that they need to be further supported. To pick up on Councillor Lee's point that she made earlier about IT support. Of course, Councillor Lee might need that, I might not. I might need support in another area that Councillor Lee doesn't. That is why this report is going out, and that is why we're going to gather the information back. Yeah, thank you for the comments. This is a great first step, and we will be much better informed, of course, once people start responding to it.
Councillor, you may want to hold your fire a little bit because I've got some other councillors who wish to speak and I want to make sure everybody gets a chance. So I've got Councillor, forgive me if I get it wrong, Councillor Colquhoun.
Thank you, Chair. Very good pronunciation. My question has been answered. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Colquhoun. So John McGee, Councillor John McGee.
Thank you, Chair. It's extremely hard. I agree with Councillor Brackenbury. It's extremely hard to give every councillor exactly what they want in training. But it is essential, Chair, that we're not all extroverts. The majority of councillors are extroverts, as we learned on the course that we all attended, the leadership course. But they're not all extroverts, so it's so important that we do have some one-to-one training, whether that be in small offices or even in some councillors' homes for IT. So we can just remember that, please. We'd all appreciate it. And it is important that that leadership is attended by as many councillors as possible. Even if you don't have the aim to be a leader at some time, the things you learn from that is so important moving forward, being a councillor. Many years ago since I did it now, but you still use the same techniques that you're taught across, and listening to councillors from all parties from all over the country is well worth it. So I know that some of our members will be attending it soon, and I hope other members do too.
Thank you for that. Councillor Best and then Councillor Ian Jelly, and I think that's sort of bringing it to an end. So, Councillor Best.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to take issue with the notion that there should be no mandatory training.
Most enterprises I've been part of and aware of do have certain mandatory training because it's important that not only everybody has a common understanding of certain issues and policies, but also that to people outside the enterprise, they're seen to be taking things seriously. There is a reference in the report to the number of councillors who have completed the carbon literacy training and been awarded the subsequent certificate. And if I'm correct, it's 14 out of 78. And that does not give the impression to people outside this enterprise that people are taking carbon literacy and the environment seriously. So I would suggest there are some matters of training that should be mandatory. Thank you.
I take your point. I believe there are already mandatory training requirements within the Constitution, but thank you for your point, Councillor Best. We're going to now finish on Councillor Ian Jelly.
Thank you very much, Chair, and congratulations on your temporary appointment. Yes, I very much welcome this report. I think it's important that all councillors have the opportunity to learn and develop their skills as a councillor. Looking through the policy, item 9 on scrutiny, on point 9.4, it says the council will appoint a dedicated scrutiny officer to ensure the council is able to deliver high-quality scrutiny. Also in that report, it says there's occasions when the Scrutiny Commission members will have sparse knowledge of a particular subject which they wish to scrutinise. So would that learning and development cover all of the scrutiny, like the Finance Scrutiny Department? And it would be interesting to understand more about the scrutiny officer who was going to be appointed to the council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Bringing it all very quickly to an end, Councillor Lee.
You've changed my sex there, Chairman. Chairman, thanks very much. Just quickly to come back on some more good points. Councillor John McGee talks about one-to-one training, and of course he's right. There are different formats for different subjects for different people. One-to-one training may be right for some people for certain subjects. Mentoring, online, classroom, virtual, a blended solution. You'll see it's all included within the report, which is in its early stages. Councillor Best made a valid comment about the number of people that have completed the carbon literacy certificate. Of course, that's misleading because an awful lot more people have actually completed the course, but they haven't completed it with their submissions. And again, that comes back to, and Councillor Best and I, we talked about this at the meeting, this comes back to ensuring that councillors are fully supported and know the journey of that training and know how to take the final step. So it's a really positive start, and Chairman, I'm delighted to recommend this report.
Excellent. We'll go to the vote then. All those for. Against? Abstentions? That was unanimous. We go to agenda item 10, Scrutiny Annual Report 2021-22. And I call Councillor Wendy Brackenbury to move this item.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very pleased to present the first scrutiny report of this council, which highlights the work that has been undertaken by the Scrutiny Commission and the Finance and Resources Scrutiny Committee during 2021-22. Myself and Councillor Mark Pengelly, who's the chair of the Finance and Resources Scrutiny Committee, would like to thank all officers who have assisted with the scrutiny function during the year and all members of both committees. The report was considered by both scrutiny committees earlier in the year and recommended to present to Council. Scrutiny is obviously a key part of the democratic process. It enables members who are not part of the executive to engage with and influence decision making in North Northants. The model adopted by this council is of two committees: the overarching Scrutiny Commission, which can establish task and finish groups to complete work on agreed work plan, and the Finance and Resources Committee, which scrutinises and monitors the finances of the council. You can find the terms of reference for each on page 4 of the report. The work plan is owned by the Scrutiny Commission and is a living document. although myself and Councillor Mark Pengelly meet frequently to discuss matters. We had a successful scrutiny conference in the autumn of 21, which was facilitated by the Centre for Guide for Governance and Scrutiny. This helped us to deliver the initial work plan, which, as I've said before, is a living document. Page 10 and 11 of the report shows the reviews that have been undertaken during the year, and I'd particularly like to draw members' attention to the Levelling Up Scrutiny Review, which was chaired by Councillor Zoe McGee, and which was the first large piece of work that was considered and completed by this scrutiny function. You will note the items considered by both the Scrutiny Commission and Finance Resources Scrutiny Committee in the report. With more meetings now in the calendar, both committees look forward to its future work, and I recommend that Council notes the Scrutiny Report, Annual Report for 2021-22 as attached at Appendix A to the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Wendy Brackenbury. I'm quite pleased to see, I believe we've got Councillor Mark Pengelly seconding this.
Yeah, can I support the report, Chair? Both committees went through quite a bit of a learning curve with both officers and members of the committee as well. It's just been very difficult to get things started, but we have got things started and things have been moving forward very, very quickly. Members of the Finance Committee, and I'd like to thank each and every one of them, spent hours upon hours looking at the budget, and I'd like to thank the members of the executive and each and every member, each and every director who came along to that scrutiny review, where a lot of work came in and a detailed report went to the executive, and they took some of them on board. We have highlighted many issues to the executive and will continue to do so. There's a lot of work going on this year, but this is, of course, about last year's report. And in relation to what Councillor Jelly said, the Office of Scrutiny Governance does recommend that you have a scrutiny officer in place. We know that's not in place yet, and we know the reason why, but we have been assured that will be in place soon. That will help scrutiny move forward, because we have been having to ask officers who are looking at other things, that are really, really busy on other things, to give us support, when having a dedicated scrutiny officer will be a lot easier for us. So thank you for all those that have supported scrutiny this year. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there anybody wishing to? Councillor Akewell.
Thank you, Chairman, and I thank particularly Councillor Pengelly, who I've worked with quite significantly over the last 12 months on finance and resources. It's the end-of-year report for scrutiny, and I'm really pleased to see that it doesn't include the executive advisory panels, which puts on the record something I've been saying for 18 months, that they are not scrutiny. And they are not fulfilling a role, in my opinion, for this council. What we should be doing is having a proper functioning scrutiny with more than one committee on specific areas, and to remove the executive advisory panels, which are not scrutiny. So at least I appreciate that that has come forward. There should also be an independence between the chairmanship of the Commission and the chairmanship of Finance and Resources. It shouldn't be a mother-daughter, mother-son, however you put it that way. There should be independence, because all scrutiny comes down into one single filter. And I think, Chairman, that we ought to, and again from the learning and development that Councillor Jelly said, be having scrutiny training from the Centre for Governance and Scrutiny, or whatever they're called now, because at the end of the day, scrutiny is crucial. Whilst it may or may not be politically sensitive as to how the council runs, and it might well self-destruct on its own, scrutiny is important, very important, to the way in which the council runs. And I'll just pick up a particular point. We're talking about scrutiny for the work plan. When we were looking at the garden waste, there were several thousand people who actually responded. We had a meeting in this room, and there was not a single member of the public there. We need to advertise the opportunity for members of the public to come to our scrutiny meetings and to talk at our scrutiny meetings. How could it be 9,000 responses, no one turned up. And equally, Chairman, in this review, when an executive member comes to scrutiny, and I think you'll find this comes from the Centre for Scrutiny and Governance, they should sit in a separate place so that it makes it very obvious who are the scrutineers and who are the executive. We had a situation on the garden waste where the portfolio holder spoke last and brought in a piece of information that actually there was a legal issue about fairness in relation to that decision, right at the very end. And then at the next point, when it went to executive, there was a subsidy or a rebate being given to East Northants, never scrutinised by the Scrutiny Committee, however that might come forward. So I think scrutiny is far from what it should be, despite the efforts of many of the people who are trying to do it. Let's scrap the EAPs, put a proper scrutiny process in according to the Local Government Act 2000, and start to challenge our executive both on the things they're going to do and the things they have done. So thank you very much, Chairman. I hope, as you said earlier, my comments have been noted. Thank you.
They have. I think you made very good comments and people do note them a lot. Councillor Smithers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just wanted to just put on record my thanks to Councillor Brackenbury and Pengelly and all the members of this authority that have put time and effort into the scrutiny process. And as we all know, scrutiny is a fundamental part of a well-run authority. And you must have caught COVID at the conference there, Mr. Riley. So, on that note, EAPs, Councillor Hakewell, are executory advisory panels. They don't perform a scrutiny function. That's not their thing. It's to derive policy to advise the executive, and members feed into that. And you will be pleased to know that I have identified, along with the monitoring officer, an issue within our scrutiny setup at the moment where we feel that it would be good to have a further scrutiny panel that will be looking at other matters of this council. So scrutiny is welcomed here at NNC, and we will continue to do our job as an executive and with our members and with our scrutiny commissions and so on to ensure that we hold each and one to account. Thank you.
Thank you for that. John McGee.
Thank you, Chair. I thought you missed me there for a sec. Yeah, I think scrutiny is essential to any council. Absolutely essential. It's where backbenchers and opposition can hold the executive to account. The EAPs, in my opinion, are not scrutiny. They weren't meant to be. My only problem with an EAP is how do we actually know what we say, especially as backbenchers and opposition, is took forward and changes policy. We need that feedback, and we do try and do it, and I understand we have tried to do it, but we need to tighten that up so we recognise we're making a difference, or else it's a talking shop, and none of us want to do that, do we? Attend a talking shop. We've got more things to do. But Chair, scrutiny is essential, but under anything you read about scrutiny, across the LGA, across the Centres for Excellence for Scrutiny, the thing that always comes up is that the best chair of scrutiny should be opposition. That's what they all say. But the council's got to believe in that and trust in that and make sure that we use that. Because we've got the experts here. Everyone can be a chair of scrutiny, but it should be opposition because they're the most challenging. And if you're not doing that, you're scared of something. What are you scared of? There's nothing to be scared of me if I chaired one, is there? I've done it for years, successfully, took it out into our community. And that's where scrutiny should be. We sit in these offices in the council buildings and then wonder why nobody comes. When I chaired scrutiny in the old council, we went onto our estates and our communities. We went in and we held it in schools so people can talk to us. That's where scrutiny should be, out in the public to get people attending it. That's what we want to see moving forward.
And
I hope that, thank you, Chair. I hope that gets taken on board.
Excellent. Dorothy Maxwell. Councillor Maxwell.
I'd just like to say that the list of what's happening in the future is great. We'd like to know where the venues are, That would be quite useful, where these meetings are going to be. But secondly, there's in 2021 and 2022, it would have been nice if we'd been aware of the scrutiny meetings which were about to take place. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for that. Back to Wendy, Councillor Brackenbury.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Hakewell, I know EAPs are not actually scrutiny, but it does give members who are not on the executive the opportunity to feed back on policy to the executive. So I welcome EAPs in addition to the scrutiny function. And although myself and Councillor Mark Pengelly work closely together, we are both... we are both...
Mayor's... Whose phone was that?
I'll carry on. We are both independently minded people, and I think we chair our both committees accordingly. Training is earmarked. I don't know if the monitoring officer would like to update us on that. The garden waste, we scrutinised that, and actually the feedback did go back to the exec, and I think that may well be why one of the reasons there was a rebate to East Northants, because people felt that it wasn't fair on those that already paid. That came from some members. So, Councillor Hakewell, if you'd let me speak, please. Councillor Smithers, thank you for your thanks to members. Members have worked hard, and I know the Finance and Scrutiny Committee will be working hard and looking at the budget in the coming months. Councillor John McGee, thank you for your comments. I don't believe scrutiny is a talking shop, and anyone who knows me will know that I'm very independently minded. I will not be swayed, so I'm quite happy and clear that I can be independent chairing scrutiny. And Councillor Maxwell, the meetings are being held in Corby at the moment, and all the meetings are published on the council's website. So they're all the dates of the meetings and the venues are all published, as are all our public meetings. Thank you.
We'll now move to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Against? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Right, we're now at the point. Item 11, motions on notice. Thank you, councillors. We have received 2 motions on notice, but I'm looking to my right. Right. They're printed on the agenda page. Please note that I expect all contributions to be concise, and please respect the time limits that apply. A mover of a motion has up to 5 minutes maximum. All other contributors get 3 minutes maximum. Thank you. So I'm going to Lynn Buckingham, who is moving the motion 1 on your papers. Lynn.
Thank you very much, and for the opportunity to bring this motion as outlined at the beginning of the papers. Fuel poverty causes misery, ill health and premature deaths in millions of households across the UK. Someone in fuel poverty will be cold, ill and making difficult decisions whether to heat or eat. In a report on Northants poverty by Voluntary Impact Northampton last year, showed that 37,400 households are experiencing some form of income deprivation, and 12,530 were in fuel poverty. That was before the cost of living crisis even started. During the winter season, vulnerable people are especially at risk. In these times, we as energy consumers plan accordingly and increase our endeavours to conserve our utility uses. Despite these efforts, there are rising demands on healthcare and local authorities. Excess winter deaths is the number of additional deaths there are in the winter compared to summer. This is most commonly affects older people and young children. And the primary causes of fuel poverty are low incomes, high energy bills and energy efficient homes. Adam Scorer, Chief Executive of the National Fuel Poverty Charity, National Energy Action, comments, "For too long we've known cold homes cost lives. On average, about 80 people per day die during the winter months due to cold homes. The wider physical and mental health impacts are devastating, preying on the most vulnerable in our society, often striking those with the worst existing health conditions or the most fragile mental health states the hardest. The physical and mental impacts on children are exceptionally harrowing too. Cold, damp homes and poor nutrition often go hand in hand. This means babies struggle to gain weight at the same time or later in the child's development. There is increasing risk of serious breathing problems. In adolescence, social isolation or worse, extreme anxiety is all too common. These impacts often last a lifetime as well as misery. This puts our immense unwelcome strain on our already overstretched health service. And there will be impacts for us as a local authority if we can't help our most vulnerable tenants should their heating fail for 2, 3, 4 weeks or longer whilst waiting for repairs or for boiler replacements. That is why I've brought this motion to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Buckingham. I've got Leanne Buckingham seconding this.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to reserve the right to speak at the end, please.
In that case, is anybody else who wants? John McGee.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the motion, Lynn. I think this is an extremely well-timed motion, isn't it, given what's happening? And unfortunately, your National Party's mini budget's not going to help the people who we hoped it would help. So, Chair, this is extremely important, very important that we support this and do something about it. I remember as a child when we were cold and we had 7 of a family and lying in bed, and see, we were cold. Your mum would come in and throw coats over you. Do we want to get back to the days? Because we couldn't afford the call at the time. And they come in, pour coats over you. We had to fight to see who would get the dog to sleep with them to keep warm. We've got to go back to the days. Some people will have to unless we do something about it now. And that's why this motion is so important. And while we're doing this motion, and I can't wait till Councillor Binley gets up and gives us all the excuses why we shouldn't, or it's already happening or something. Let's make sure something happens, Chair, before people die. That's the last thing we want to happen. Because let's be realistic, the boilers go down, and I've seen it with the residents I represent. A boiler goes down, we come and try and repair it, do a little job, and it's down 2 weeks ago. What I'd like to see is the actual figures for how many boilers have been repaired and then repaired again and again and again instead of replacement. Because we know they've got a lifespan and we know that happens. So we need the figures for last year past, how many have been repaired, how many times, and how many new ones. And we need the figures going forward. Because I don't want another phone call like last year from my residents saying, that's 3 days now, they've given me electric heaters. I can't afford to put my electric heaters on. The price of the electric heaters running in a house that hasn't got a boiler working is horrendous for people. So we can't afford to let that happen. So, Chair, let's get everyone fully supporting behind this important motion. Thank you.
John, for that. Councillor Dorothy Maxwell.
Well, I'd like to say basically there are things in place to help people whose boilers go. And we know that the temporary heaters which are given, doesn't matter how many rooms they need to heat, they will get them. Equally, there is going to be some funding, I think, to actually pay for these heaters while the boiler is waiting to be repaired. But there is a set time about how long you have to wait. And these set times are going to be adhered to. But obviously, this is just about Kettering and Corby. You've also got to think about the other areas where people are going to suffer. However, they have a different policy, and it's not as good as the councils. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I've got nobody else wish to... Mac Binley, Councillor Binley.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not going to give Councillor McGee the excuses that he thinks I'm going to give, Chair. But I would say that we do have a boiler replacement programme, and Councillor McGee is absolutely correct. Of course, we don't want to be going out time and time again to carry out repairs. But of course, what I would ask is that if members do encounter that they do raise that as per the members' process with the Assistant Director to flag that up. And they will certainly look into that. Chair, I do have a few problems with this motion in that, to start with, it doesn't cost anything out. And when we're talking about the HRA, that is an absolute must. But I do appreciate the sentiment behind this motion. It is well-meaning, but unfortunately, it is a little bit woolly. The government have clearly set out their plans for the winter fuel costs this year. We've got the warm home discount scheme, we've got the energy rebate, plus the new energy price guarantee. So I'm also a bit perplexed, Chair, as to why reviewing the energy efficiency of the temporary heaters would actually help support the people of North Northamptonshire. All it does is create additional work for our officers with no foreseeable benefits to our residents. I'd also just quickly flag that the costs actually highlighted, unfortunately, they're actually worse than that because the prices have actually changed in the price cap. So you're actually looking at £1.08 an hour to run a fan heater. So unfortunately, it's even worse than that. I believe that there may have been some historical previous sovereign authority knowledge perhaps used here, where we suggest that it takes weeks or months to fix or replace a boiler. Boiler failures are classed as urgent cases and require a 24-hour response. But of course, this is not for the repair, oil parts or a possible replacement. We do have to order parts in some instances, etc. But normally, a boiler replacement takes days, not weeks or months. The other bit that concerns me is the definition of winter in this motion. If we go off the Met Office definition of winter, that runs from the 1st of December to the 28th of February. How many people have already switched their heating on and we're in September? So that would be another concern of mine in this motion. Corby do currently offer a token amount for the use of fan heaters. It's around about £1 a day, and Kettering at the moment would only do a payment where the service has failed and fan heaters are being used for weeks, not days. We also have to consider the cost of the use of the fan heaters, Mr. Chair. When the gas is down, of course, they're not using gas, so it does offset some of the cost, albeit the electric is more expensive. Please, therefore, I cannot support the motion. However, I will report into this matter and will discuss drafting a policy with regards to an SLA for boiler repairs across the entire area, that's Kettering and Corby, and explore the feasibility of a goodwill gesture payments to potentially be made. But of course, this would need to be fully costed.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Hakewell.
Well, we could always finish with a bit of joined-up thinking, couldn't we? We've praised scrutiny such as it is. I would propose that we actually not have a report to Councillor Binley, but we have a scrutiny of that, to actually understand how many boilers fail, how often they go back, the costs of doing so, the cost of the electricity and so on. So this seems like a classic where we could all agree. So we've got the two chairs of scrutiny here. Well, why not let's do something quick before the full definition of winter comes along? And I would propose, if anyone wants to second it... Sorry?
On the table, please discuss the motion.
I thought that's what I was talking about. I would like to propose that there be a scrutiny, if anyone wants to second that, into this whole issue that Councillors Binley, McGee and others have put forward. And I think I can propose that, can't I?
You can't change the...
Councillor Hakewell, there's a motion on the table. We can't debate another motion whilst we're reviewing this one. So if you're seeking to amend the motion...
Yes, that's the one. I'd like to amend the motion. I'd like to amend the motion. Yes, of course. I'd forgotten. I didn't bring my copy of the Constitution because my back was hurting today. So I would like to amend this motion by saying that this...
Important subject, and this is an extraordinarily important motion. Let's just be careful about it.
I'd like to amend the motion, if it's going to be seconded, that there be a full scrutiny of all the issues that have been put forward in the motion. I so amend. Hopefully someone will second it. If they don't, that's fine.
Well, I'm happy to second the motion.
We're going to have 5 minutes to think about this. Why don't you all have a comfort break while we're at past? I'm sorry about the delay, but these are really important things. Councillor Hakewill, I believe you've got something you'd like to say.
Well, normally I wouldn't say anything, but yes, I would like to appreciate the great degree of scrutiny that has just gone on, and I'll withdraw my motion. So I formally withdraw my motion.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was, well, anyway. So where are we now?
We're just in debate now, so we don't have any speakers. So you may want to go back to...
Yes, I'm going to go back now to so long ago. Lynn. Lynn, I'm coming back to you. Am I coming back to you first?
Yeah, just go back to Lynn.
No, it's Leanne first. Sure. She's the second.
I think Lynn just wants to add some words to her motion.
Yeah, I just wondered if I could add some words to the motion, please, at the end. So we're asking the council to review the efficiency, and then at the end, and this will come back to next council or the one after for consideration.
Would that be okay with you, that change?
I would be very happy to accept that as an amendment.
So now we're going to vote on that.
No, so those are just additional words. So because the mover and the seconder have said that they're okay with that, that will just become the motion now that we're going to vote on. Chair, I think that where you were before debate was if there's no more questions, then I think that Councillor Leanne Buckingham had reserved her seconder's speech, so she may wish to do that. And then we move over to Councillor Lynn Buckingham, who will have the right of reply because she provided the initial motion.
Hello, Council, and can I thank my colleagues for withdrawing their motion? I appreciate that. Their amendment to the motion, forgive me. Thank you. Yes, so we heard from a few people, didn't we, there? John McGee, you described the dark days. I'm glad I never lived through those, but I don't wish for us to go back there again. Councillor Maxwell, temporary heaters, you don't get as many as you wish. So in a 3-bed house, you might only have 2. In terms of funding available, yes, there is some funding, but not crisis funding when we're looking at somebody's heating going down and the implications thereafter. Councillor Binley, I like that you started it with no excuses. There is no excuses. We should always be doing our best for our people. Repair plans, thank you. I'm glad that they're in full swing. Yes, there are some help going on at the moment, and in terms of, you know, that £1 support, that only pays for 1 hour of these heaters, as you said, and actually 1 hour of heating doesn't go very far to taking the cold away. Somebody made a very good point whilst we were just speaking there. It's not just about heating or eating. This is about living or dying. People are in desperate conditions as they are. Things are getting worse. And should their boiler go, they will be in such bad position that they might not die through cold, but through other means. And we need to, as this council, be a really listening council. So I welcome the amendment to the motion. I welcome that we're having a report come back. This will make sure that we are giving the best possible care to our people. And thank you.
Thank you very much for those words. I'll now come to Lynn Buckingham.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to give my approval to everything, and thank you very much.
Right. If that's it, we'll now go to the vote. So, all those in favour of this motion? Against? Abstentions? Unanimous. We now go to motion 2, and I call on Emily Fedorovitz to move the motion.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, we're going to be taking this motion off the table today, given the recent government's energy caps. So we'll bring this back as and when that's relevant, but thank you very much.
That Councillor Tubbs is happy with that decision.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm happy with the decision. Thank you.
Right. So we will have a vote then on... No, we don't need to do anything. I've gone mad for votes. Right, I've gone to item 12. There is no urgent business on this occasion. So I'd like to thank you all for being kind to me and being patient. I send our best wishes. I'm sure you both feel we should send our best wishes to the Chair and Vice Chair. And be careful out there. Bye.